In this section, we're going to be talking about using proportions to solve percent problems. So the last section we talked about using equations. Now we're doing proportions. It's just a different method, very similar. So the first thing you need to do is review proportions. I'm not going to go over that. It's in section 6.2. We're going to talk about translating, just like we did in the equations section, and then we're going to look at solving. So there's a couple of things you need to recall from section 7.1 and 7.2. Percent means X per 100. So for example, 57% means 57 per 100 or over 100. And a percent problem has three parts. It has the percent, and now we're going to put it over 100, and the whole, and the part. So now think about what would happen if we looked at percent as a number per 100, and we divided both sides by the whole. So we just divide both sides by whole. It's going to divide out over here, and we get percent equals part per whole. And remember that percent can be per 100. So I'm going to rewrite this as, think of it this way. We're going to say that this is, instead of percent, I'm going to write per and cent on the bottom. And cent means 100. So per 100 equals part over whole, which is where this is all leading to this statement right here, translating percent statements to proportions. The percent statement, a percent of the whole is a part, translates to this by just rearrangement that I just showed you. So the percent per 100, the number per 100, equals the part over the whole. Okay, so make sure we're using, it says down here that, that it's going to be done without the percent symbol, because now we've got it per 100, and that's what the percent symbol stands for. So you don't want to use the decimal, and you don't want to use a fraction. You want to use the actual percent. All right, so let's look at a few of these. We're going to translate each of these percent statements to a proportion. So 27 is 30% of 90. So we've got to find the percent. So the percent is pretty easy because it's got the percent sign on it. So we get 30 100ths. So remember, don't write the percent sign anymore because we're writing out as per 100, equals which is the part and which is the whole. So of 90 is the whole, so it goes on the bottom, and 27 goes on the top. That's the part. So if it helps you, the percent sign should stand out, but you could go and write that this is the whole and this is the part. Okay, so the part goes on top, the whole goes on the bottom. All right, the next one, 25%, 14 out of 56 is 25%. So I immediately see the 25%, and I'm going to write 25 100ths. So 25 100ths is 14 out of 56. So 14 is the part, and 56 is the whole. So 14 out of 56. So that's how you would set these up. So now I'm going to give you guys a chance to try this. So give these a shot and then pause the video and come back and check your answer. Okay, so you should have gotten 20 over 100 is 16 over 80. So 20%, part, and whole. And down here, 50%, 50 over 100, 19 was the part, 38 was the whole. So 50 100ths equals 19 over 38. So as you can see, these are all just proportions. And so when we have one thing missing, we're going to be able to solve it using our proportion skills from the last chapter. So we're going to look at solving percent problems now, and I just wanted to make sure you understand that this is done the same way as above. So we translate it first, and then we solve for the unknown value by one of these two of your skills, whichever one is better, using fraction skills or just cross-multiplying. I don't always like cross-multiplying because it creates more work than is necessary, so I'm going to show you what I mean by that here in just a sec. All right, so let's do the first step, which is setting it up. And we're going to put an X in when it says what number. Okay, so we've got 32%, so we've got 32 per 100 equals, now we have to figure out which is the part and which is the whole. So we're saying of 62.5, so that tells us that this is the whole. And so what number is going to be the part? So we've got X over 62.5. So now the next thing we need to do is solve for the X. So to get it by itself, we don't care if it's on the left or right. So remember what we did back a couple of chapters. We just want to solve for X. So we're going to multiply both sides by 62.5, or you can think of it as 62.5 over 1. over 1. And it's going to divide out over on the right side. And we get x equals 62.5 times 32 divided by 100. And you can put that all in your calculator all at once. So 62.5 times 32 divided by 100. Your calculator knows what to do with that. And you would just get, and I'm going to rewrite it, x equals 62.5 times 32 over 100. And that is going to give you 20. All right, let's try another one. 140% is 75 of what number? So 140%, I'm going to give myself a little bit more room here. 140 over 100, so that's more than 100%, remember. Of 75 is what number? So remember, of 75 means that's our whole. Okay, so we're going to have 75 on the bottom and x on the top. So now we're going to multiply both sides by 75 over 1. And we're going to get that x equals 75 times 140 divided by 100. Put that in your calculator and you will find that x equals 105. Okay, so we did not cross multiply because we would have ended up with 100 times x and then we would have had to divide it again and it would have given us at least one extra step in the process. So when x is on top, so this only applies when x is on top, you don't have to cross multiply. When x is on top, you just have to multiply both sides by its denominator. Okay, these next two are very similar to what I just did. So I'm going to let you try these two. This is how we're going to do it in this video. I'm going to do 2 and then you're going to do 2 and we're going to do a whole bunch of problems. So what number is 25% of 140? First set it up as a proportion this time and then try to solve for x, and the same thing for d. So go ahead and try it on your own and then come back and check your answer. So make sure you pause it now. So the answers to C and D are here. 25% of 140 is 35. 120% of 5 is 6. So make sure your answers make sense. And you can see how I set them up here. Okay, this next one, we've got a 7.5. So we're going to change this right away to 7.5. So 7.5 is 6% of what number? So 6% we're going to go ahead and write as 6 per 100 equals, and of what number? So of gives us the big clue that this is our whole. Okay, so we've got 7.5 of the whole, which is x. So now we are going to need to cross multiply on this one and then do another step. So first we're going to multiply both sides by x and both sides by 100. That's what cross multiplication is. And we end up with 6 times x equals 7.5 times 100. Then we're going to divide both sides by 6. And we get x equals, I'm just going to come up here, x equals 7.5 times 100 divided by 6. And if you just put that in your calculator, you will get 125. All right, the next one, 85% of what number? So of what number, that's our whole, is 98.6. So we get 85 per 100 is 98.6 per the whole, which is the x. Now we're going to cross multiply, or we're going to multiply everything by both denominators. I like that better. Cross multiplication is one of those things that people tend to apply to way too many things that it doesn't apply to. What we're doing here is multiplying both sides by x and both sides times 100. Then some of the things cancel out. So this is just a shortcut. 85x equals 98.6 times 100. Then we divide both sides by 85. And we get that x equals 98.6 times 100 over 85. And if you put that in your calculator, you will find that x equals 116. So make sure these make sense. 85% of 116 is 98.6. That makes sense. All right, the next two are for you to try. So remember, when you've got a fraction, you are going to turn that into a decimal. So go ahead and try G and H, pause the video and take your time, and then come back and check the answer. Okay, so the answers are here. First I wanted to point out that 8 2/5 is 8.4. Of what number means that's the whole. So 5%, 5 per 100, is 8.4 over x. You're going to cross multiply and then divide by 5, and you get 168. H is pretty straightforward, and you just have to find of what number is the whole. So that's going to be your x. And you should get 80. Okay, we just have a couple more problems to go. What percent of 93 is 62? So what percent is going to be x? So we get x over 100 is, so here's our of, and that's going to be our whole, so 93, and 62 goes on top. So now, like I said before, cross multiplication in this case is not going to save you any time. The x is already on the top, so I'm just going to multiply both sides times 100 over 1, and I get x equals 62 times 100 over 93. So you can just go ahead and put that right in your calculator. 62 over 93 times 100 is 66.6 repeating percent. All right, the next one, 12.6 is what percent? So what percent again is going to be our x. So x over 100, don't forget to do it that way. And because we've done that, you're going to get, you can just write it without moving the decimal place. So remember, when we do it this way, we have taken care of moving the decimal place because we've already said per 100. So 12.6 is what percent of 90? So of 90 means that 90 goes on the bottom. Don't just assume the big one goes on the bottom because that might not be the case. All right, so now we want to multiply both sides. Didn't leave myself much room, but both sides times 100 over 1. And you could, use fractions to reduce and all that, but there's no reason to take the time to do that when you're just going to use the calculator anyway. So 12.6 times 100 divided by 90, and you can do that all at once in your calculator, and you're going to get 14%. Okay, so why don't you try these last two problems, K and L. Pause the video, take your time, come back and check your answers. So doing these problems just like I did the last two, you've got x over 100 because it's the percent that you're looking for, and the whole is the of 21, so 21 is the whole, 7 is the part. Multiply both sides times 100, and you should get 33.3 repeating percent. And again, the of tells us what the whole is, and we get 15.4 of 70. We want to know the percent. So you get 22%. And that's the end of this video. We'll see you next time.